Our first storyteller, looking very nervous over there, is Dana Bock-Decateau. She's gonna be amazing. Dana, you're gonna be amazing. All right, let me tell you about Dana. Dana grew up in West Hartford, but she was born in Brooklyn, and she was sure to tell me with pride that she's fourth generation Brooklyn on her mom's side. She's a New England plant accountant with Old Castle Precast, which is a manufacturing company, and she loves to read, and this Friday is heading off for a cruise somewhere. She didn't mention where she was going. I guess she doesn't want us joining her, but she's cruising. As you guys probably know, tonight is the lesser-known Jewish holiday, or not well-known, but not quite a high holiday, but the Academy Awards, one of our lesser holidays. In preparation for tonight's show, I asked each of our storytellers to imagine what Academy Award they would be awarded if there was an award for their life. So you guys can think about that too. What would you be getting? Dana told me that she would win the award for most likely to fall asleep before the first award is handed out. All right, Dana, you ready? Let's go. Dana Bock-Decateau. Good job, audience. Good audiencing. All right, you ready? Let me help you. Good? Yeah, let's go. Thanks. I sit on the couch, holding the remote control, tapping it against my thigh. One thing that you should know about me is I love depressing movies. The sadder, the sappier, the better. Beaches, Terms of Endearment, that one where Ricky Schroeder's that little kid in that boxing movie, The Champ, love it. So I'm scrolling through the thousands of channels that we get on TV, and suddenly I stop. Schindler's List is starting in 10 minutes. I've never seen Schindler's List. Whenever that comes up in conversation, people always give me a funny look. They say, "Isn't your dad a Holocaust survivor?" And I say, "Yes, he is." And they say, "Wow, he must have never talked about it." And I say, "Actually, my dad's an open book when it comes to talking about the Holocaust," which is pretty ironic if you know my dad, considering he's the quietest guy you'll ever meet. But the Holocaust, he talks about. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't know about the Holocaust, his childhood, the family that we lost, the family that he lost. I know they weren't bedtime stories per se, but they were the stories that he did tell. He would tell me that the anti-Semitism started when he was a boy in Czechoslovakia, around age 7 in 1941. He wasn't allowed to go to parks, he wasn't allowed to go to movies. Before that, he had a happy childhood, religious, with his parents and his sister. And then he had to start wearing a yellow star all the time. He wasn't allowed to go to school. And then the worst day of his life came. It was April of 1941. It was the Friday before Passover. His father was summoned to the train station by the police. The train station was not a good thing back then. His father tried to reassure him, saying that he would be home for Shabbat. He would certainly be home for Passover. That was the last time my dad ever saw his dad again. I can't even imagine a day that bad. So I'm sitting on the couch, tapping the remote control against my thigh. Schindler's List is starting in 5 minutes. I should watch this movie. It's a movie that the child of a Holocaust survivor should watch. It's not that I don't want to, I can't. When my dad tells me the stories, I listen to them, but I don't visualize them. My dad has done research with the American Red Cross, and extensive research, and he has been able to find out where our family, which concentration camps our family has died in. His father in Majdanek, others in Auschwitz, other camps as well. So when he talks to me, and I hear it, I don't visualize it.
And if I see this movie, I'm going to have to visualize it. The stories will become real, and they'll become my family. And I think to myself, I've always had food. I've always had heat. I've even always had couches. My dad didn't have all that. He was sent to Novaki, a labor camp. He was there for 2 years and 2 months. But he considered himself fortunate. He was with his mom and his sister, his stepmom and his sister. He was able to go to school. It was in a labor camp, but he was fortunate. He was able to go to school. And he was fortunate when his tonsils became infected. And there was a Jewish doctor in the camp who was also an inmate that was able to take his tonsils out, even if there was no anesthesia. I sit on the couch, tapping the remote control against my thigh. The movie is starting in just a couple of minutes, and I think of the irony of my struggle. My dad is in the Shoah Foundation, the foundation that Steven Spielberg founded after filming Schindler's List, so that as many survivor stories would be documented in their own voices, because there will be a day that survivors won't be around to tell their own stories any longer. I remember when the interviewer and the camera person were at my parents' house, and they were saying that they were trying to get representation from every state in the country, and other countries as well. And my dad told the Shoah Foundation his entire story. I particularly remember the part, August 1944, the National Slovak Uprising. The partisans came and freed the camp. And I always remember thinking, this should be the happy ending to the story. The labor camp is open. But you see, the war wasn't over. And there was no place for the inmates to go. And the Gestapo would not allow anybody to harbor Jews. So my dad, his stepmom, and his sister, and another family, 10 of them all together, they literally went into underground hiding, underneath a barn, in a bunker, for 8 months. There wasn't enough room to stand up in this bunker, even for a 10-year-old boy like my dad. There was no place to bathe. Food was extremely sparse. The woman who owned the barn was able to buy 1 extra loaf of bread a week without bringing attention to the fact that she was buying extra food. And that's the food that they would share, the 10 of them, for the week. He was there for 8 months. I sit on the couch, the remote control against my thigh, the movie starting in just a minute, and I look to the popcorn by my side. I've never had to think about where my next meal would come from. I've never had to think about where my next shower would come from. My dad has taken a shower every night before bed for as long as I can remember. Understandably. I sit on the couch, tapping the remote control against my thigh. Thank you. Love you, Dad.
Dana. You did great. Great job. And Dana's dad is here. Thank you for sharing that with us, Dana. You know that at intermission, every single person here is going to come to you and find out whether you watched the movie. So we all want to know. So prepare for that.